What's up, everyone? My name is Marcel.
And I'm Nikki, and welcome to Renewed Love.
Today, we're going to be talking about our time after divorce and the lessons we learned during that time.
Ooh, that sounds exciting, babe. You ready?
Ready?
Let's go.
Let's get it.
So, today we're talking about life after divorce and what comes with that, right? The struggles, the happiness, the joy, the healing, the forgiveness, all of those things that, yes, the ups and downs, all of those things that come with life after divorce. So if you are new to us and you don't know our story, we will go ahead and link it up in the cards and also in the description so that you can get a better understanding of why we're talking about this. But the short end of it is we're married, divorced, and now we're remarried. So there it is. So, babe, I have a question for you. What was life like after our separation? Like when you decided that enough was enough and you were going to go your separate way up until the actual divorce was signed and it was official?
It was tough. In a nutshell, just to say everything in a nutshell, it was tough. I feel like during that time, from the separation to the final signing, the legal being it was being divorced, I was scared. Honestly, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I lost my best friend. In a sense, well, not in a sense. I actually lost my best friend. It was a new. It, I don't want to call it an adventure, but it was a new chapter in my life, and then it was to look back at it. It was all caused because of me. So it was scary. It was.
Did you have like instant regret or did regret come like over time or did it ever show up?
I feel like it came more over time. It was. I got a little glimpse of regret right after, but then it really set in later on down the line. Um, as our divorce, you know, took its turn, took its toll on everything. I was realizing that certain jokes we had I couldn't do anymore, or certain memories we had I couldn't share with anybody else because they didn't know.
Yeah.
So it came over time. It definitely came over time. So what about you?
What about me?
How was the life after separation, divorce, all that?
The whole nine. For me, I mean, it was the same. Like there was confusion. I wasn't sure why you decided to leave during that time. So it was a lot more confusion, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of vacillating between was it my fault? Was it something that I did? Could I have done anything differently? Can I save my marriage even after he has said that, you don't want to do this anymore? So it was a lot of like, what we used to call shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was a lot of that for me. It was a lot of ebbs and flows of, is this, again, my fault? Is this something that I did? God, why did this happen? Because for me, it came out of nowhere. And so this wasn't even a topic of conversation at that time.
True. Yeah.
And I was literally blindsided. So it was like, well, what do you do with this information? Like, now what? And because we had spent so much of our lives together, like, how do I do life now?
Right.
You're my person and my
Yeah.
person's not there anymore. Like you said, best friend. So how do I navigate life? And keep in mind, we were in a brand new state, a brand new city. Like we didn't know anybody, and I was not working at that time. So then my thoughts shifted to, well, what do I do? How do I support myself? Is he gonna still support me? Like, what does this look like? And so, yeah, I think it took.
You raised a lot of questions.
Yeah, for sure. It took a lot of tolls on me personally. My mental, my health had started to decline. It was a lot of confusion. Like, what now? It was a lot of those what now questions. Okay, now what? Now what? Then what? Like, I needed step by step instructions on how to live my life without this man that I thought I was going to live the rest of my life with.
Agree. I agree. Definitely agree. It was it was confusing. We could say that. I didn't know which way to go after that. Um, I couldn't. Of course, I stayed in the military. However, it was. I felt like nothing progressed after that.
Yeah.
It was like you were that support that I had that I needed to push me through, um, and I didn't have that anymore. It was just like I lost a big chunk of me.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I get that. I think for me, like, because I was just in this space where I was getting familiar with the city, I was trying to find a church and, trying to build community. And we'll talk about community in a little bit, but um, it was interesting because there was nobody that I knew at that time that was in my current situation.
yeah,
And I had never been in this situation before, so I really didn't know how to navigate that. I couldn't talk to my mom about it because she's no longer here, And so, one thing I will say though, my grandmother, when she found out, she was adamant, so like, don't worry, baby, he'll be back. And I'm like, but grandma, no, he's not coming back. Like he is done. She's like, no, he'll be back. They always come back. My aunt, I think, said the same thing. So it was like a little glimmer of hope. But for me, I'm like, oh, if you're telling me he's coming back, he'll be back tomorrow. That was not the case. This was a 6.5, almost 7 year process. Like that was not the case at all. So that was when we talked about in our first video, we talked about therapy, we talked about counseling and how we were going to counseling together. Um, and then after you left, I continued going. Did you ever seek counseling or any help to work through your thoughts and ideas or anything like that?
no, I don't think I stayed in contact with the counselor either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was no professional help. I mean, I had friends, but that is what it is. Um, Again, we'll get into that later, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was yeah, it essentially talking and venting to someone. Yeah, I was out there on my own,
Yeah.
so nobody knew I was struggling with internally or anything.
How was your situation like with the other person? Like, um, ultimately, like, again, if you don't know the story, please go back and watch the other video. But ultimately, it essentially ended up looking like, from my perspective, when you left me for her. Was that the case? And if it was or wasn't, explain. But then also, what was that process like? Because now you just got out of something that you were in for 7 years and now you're in something new. How does that dynamic work?
Um, Essentially, I did not leave you for her per se. It was me using that time to get to know me better. But on the other end of that, I did eventually solidify the relationship with her, which in that I regret as well. I should have taken that, listened to my first mind and taken that time to get to know me. Um, the initial thought was regret. um, it wasn't
I'm sorry, regret for being with her or for leaving?
both.
Okay.
Both. It was a twofold regret situation.
Mm-hmm.
I regretted leaving you, then I regretted progressing the relationship with her. It was different being with her, and and I mean that for what it is in a bad way. Red flags everywhere, and I should have seen. I should have seen them. Yeah, we laugh about it now, but it yeah, it shouldn't have progressed to that extent. Like I should have took that time to seek out the help, to get to know me better. Sit down with myself and just be with myself and strengthen myself in that moment.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think, and that comes with the 5 lessons that we've learned. Actually, it's 10. We each have five, but I think that comes with the lessons. Like, what did we learn during this time? And what I will say right now is that in the midst of that, getting to know yourself is so vitally
Vital,
important.
vital.
So vitally important because when you are connected with someone and you're doing life with together with someone for any amount of time, your life becomes consumed with that person. It is no longer you in this life or in this marriage, it is you and your partner. And so learning how to navigate, dinners and work schedules and spending time together, dating each other, like all of these things that you are learning how to navigate, and now that person's not there, and now you're like, well, what do I do? Because normally at 6 I make dinner, or normally at 4 he's coming home. Like, what do I do?
Like your
Right?
worlds become intertwined and
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
revolved around each other. So it's
Absolutely. And I think that in marriage, you have to learn that there is individuality. Like, you are one whole, complete person. There is no one that completes you. When you clocked into time, you were born complete. Okay, so let me say that first and foremost. You were born complete. No man will complete you, no woman will complete you. You were born complete and whole. But as you become married, the Bible says the two shall become one, meaning that, like my husband just said, now your lives are intertwined with each other. It is no longer just you by yourself. And so again, like, navigating life after divorce was, who am I, number one? Who am I even? Okay.
who are you?
Exactly. Like, who am I? What do I like to do? Who am I in God's eyes? Like, what is going to happen with the rest of my life? There were so many unanswered questions when you go through this process.
And I think we had the same questions, but just on different ends of the spectrum, which is
Yeah.
it's weird, but like it's almost expected,
Yeah,
if you can say that.
for sure. For sure.
I think this is the perfect time to jump into the lessons that we learned.
I agree.
So, babe, what was your first lesson?
Whew. So many lessons. I think my first lesson was embracing change, because we talked about like how to navigate life as a solo person, now as a single person. I think it was, like, change is inevitable. Like, it's all around us. We know things change, seasons change, etc. But it was like really embracing that change for me, and learning like who I am. And so embracing that things are changing. I can no longer call you and talk to you every
Right.
day. I can no longer like make dinner for you. Now it's dinner for myself, and like things of that nature. It was the embracing the change and looking back on the lessons that I learned. It was a necessary change. One thing I always used to say was, during that time, because so much trauma and drama and things were happening during that time, I made Marcel my God versus allowing and looking to my Heavenly Father and making God my God. I made my husband my God. And so looking back, I realized a lot of what we had went through was because God needed to break us, to build us up, to grow us up, to bring us back together. Exactly. If that makes sense. Yeah. What about you? What was your first lesson?
My first lesson, I would have to say, would be leaning on God. I was out of favor with God because I was not connected to Him. I was not connected to the source per se. I knew without Him I was nothing. Like I had no idea where my life was going. It was at a very fast downward spiral. It was a true testament to show how, like I said, I still stayed in the Navy, and it felt like my career was not progressing at all. And I knew that, seeing that, I was like, something's off. I wasn't praying as much, I wasn't going to church as much, or at all for that matter. And I felt that. I noticed that change. And it was, like you said, change. Yeah. But like I said, a different end of the spectrum. It was, I knew I needed to get back to Him. I knew I needed to get back to my word. I needed to get back to praying and just being closer to God.
Did you feel like when you noticed it, did you immediately make that shift to pursue that relationship with God?
No, no. I just honestly I thought it was something within me that was causing the downward spiral. I didn't even think of I didn't think it was because of me not being connected to God. I wasn't that in tune with it at that point in time. It wasn't until further down, like down that divorce journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was, yeah, it was scary, but like I knew I needed to get back to Him when I noticed it quickly.
Amen. So I think for me, the second lesson that I learned was self care. Like I am a firm believer that self care is not selfish, it's a necessity. It's a necessity for healing. And it was important for me to make sure that, like I said, I kept going to that therapist. And if she would not see me, go find
Find
me
somebody
another one.
else.
Yeah. Because my mental was, I don't know where it was at. And a little brief backstory about me. I have been a person that has suffered from severe depression before, to points where I have attempted multiple times to end my life. And I knew that because I was just on the brink of, losing my mom, losing my son, and now losing my husband in a different capacity, however, it's still grief, that I needed to seek professional help. And that was important to me. So self-care, learning about myself, taking care of myself mentally, physically, emotionally, was very, very important for me. And so that was a huge lesson that I had to learn, especially because when you think about the African American community and culture, the Black community and culture, we typically don't respond to therapy. When someone says go see someone or go talk to a professional, we are very anti that. I think we're starting to come
Yeah.
around, but a lot of that stems from our roots, our grandparents, great grandparents, when they never really talked about things and they kept everything to themselves. You have a family member who is deemed weird or funny, and you can't go to cousin so and so's house or uncle so and so's house, but you don't really know why. But your family is like,
Right.
they're
Right.
weird. You don't
Yeah.
go over there. We don't leave kids over there by that. But nobody ever talks about why. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is so important for us to have these type of conversations because our mental capacity, our mental health is very important.
Very. Very.
So one big important lesson for me was my mental health.
And I feel like even if you don't seek the professional help, get a really good friend that has an unbiased view of everything. That will sit there and listen and give you unfiltered advice.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't afford it. But if you have the opportunity to do professional help, do it. But if not, get a really good friend. Really good friend.
For sure. Somebody that you can trust. So you feel like you have really good friends in that moment, or
Look at that.
okay, what's your second lesson, babe?
So my second lesson is the grass isn't greener.
Mm, baby, don't listen to that Chris Brown song.
Mm-hmm.
Or did he say
He
grass
said
is
it.
green? Oh,
He
okay.
said
So listen to that Chris
listen to
Brown
it.
song, girl.
I had to learn that everything that presents itself as shiny and new wasn't necessarily better or even good for me. Um, at that time, the woman was a new situation for me. It was
Mm-hmm.
packaging itself up as new. I was in a new space, a new area, and it just went along the lines of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it definitely wasn't greener. It was not greener pastures. Um,
I
like
love that we can laugh about this
yeah,
now.
definitely.
Like, cause baby, in the
Yeah,
midst
in
of
the
it,
midst of it, it was.
mm-mm.
But yeah, it was definitely a challenge. I think you said before it was some red flags that I should have seen, should have adhered to. There was challenge flags flying all,
Flying all over the place.
and I was not paying attention. I was ignoring them. I should have. Even with that, I really had a good thing at home. I really did, and I ignored it, and that shows that like if you have that little voice in your head, sometimes it's good. And sometimes it's most of the time it's God trying to help you, trying to protect you. So yeah.
Amen. Do you feel like you had a voice in your head telling you not to do it? Were there sirens going off in that process? Like, totally.
There were situations where they were going off, but it wasn't like maybe I shouldn't. But it was like, you serious right now? but it wasn't like run type situation. But it was like those are okay, all right.
No, I was talking about, well, you were talking about the perspective of the other woman, but I was saying like with us, like were there
Oh,
sirens going off telling you not to leave?
oh, you're talking about red sirens going up to from leaving you.
Right.
Yes, like there were certain times where I would come get my stuff from her. It was like, should I really leave? And it was like a comfortability thing. Like this is where I needed to be at, but get me being me, I ignored them.
What is that, dear? Prideful? Stubborn? Oh my.
Yeah, that was me. That was definitely me. I definitely should have listened to those sirens.
Listen, I heard a saying a long time ago, the grass is greenest where you water it.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
So I think for me, my lesson 3 is having a community. I think it was really important in my growth, in my healing, in a lot of things was having community. I found community with church, with support groups, with friends, with family. They all like stood by me when I was going back and forth with these crazy thoughts that may have come up or things like that. Like they like community was essential. There was a part in our separation where, because remember I didn't have a job, so I didn't have anything. He had already taken off and taken me off of pretty much everything, so I didn't have anything. And when I tell you, like, community rallied together, bought groceries, paid bills, like they hooked your girl up. And I think community is absolutely essential in healing. There's you shouldn't go through that by yourself. So if you don't have a community in friends or you don't have a community in a therapist, have a community within your church circle or your small groups or your just networking people that you can trust with the story, with the information that will hold space for you, that will hold space for you to process how you need to process, dissect how you need to dissect, that will be there to support you, that will not offer you advice unless you ask for it, people that will be there to listen to you in your time of need. Community is 1000% essential.
I agree. I agree. I wish I could have had that. Because my number 3 lesson, it kind of ties into what you're saying. Choose your friends wisely.
Mm.
Wisely.
Why do you say that, babe?
The friends I had, I thought had my back, that were there to support me, that was there to lift me up. Trash. Trash. They were just helping me stay on that wrong path, continue to do my dirt, just continue to stay wrong, you know. Even it was no even when I was like back to the example of me coming to get my stuff, it wasn't like they would help me, but it wasn't like, hey, G, 'cause they used to call me G in the Navy. You should stay. Messing up. Don't do this. It wasn't none of that. And I think if I would have had a better friend circle, I think it would have turned out a lot different.
Yeah. Do you think it had anything to do with them being like younger than you in any way, or like?
That could have that could possibly be it. You know, I joined the Navy a little bit older, not too much older, but a little bit older. So everybody I came in contact with was usually younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I probably feel like that was the best way they thought they could support me, is to just go along with what I was
Yeah.
doing. So
I can see that. And then like you said, like being younger, and then if they've never really been out of the house or traveled like that or been in this type of environment, they're having
right,
fun. They're
yeah,
just like everybody does this. This is
yeah.
what we do, type of thing.
Or they
So
didn't know what to say in general.
true,
So
true. Yeah, I totally understand that. Let's take a moment really quick. If you have your own experience with divorce or lessons that you've learned through separation or anything of that nature, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear. We would love to hear what your thoughts are, what your lessons have been. And even as a single person, if you're watching this and you're single and you're waiting for your spouse, You've dated, I'm sure, right?
Have some bad experiences.
Let's drop some lessons that you've learned that you won't be repeating when he or she comes, your spouse comes. So go ahead and drop those in the comments for us. Okay, so my fourth lesson is the art of letting go. During this process, I had to learn how to let go of resentment so that I could open up my heart and mind to receive and accept forgiveness. Forgiveness of me, what I did wrong, my role in the marriage, what I may have done to cause anything. So I had to forgive myself first and foremost, but then also have my heart and mind open to forgive my husband. Um, and that was hard. That was hard. I wanted to be one of those chicks that went on base, that slashed tires, punched out windows. I wanted to be her, but I couldn't be her. And I'm glad that I was not her. But baby, that anger, that resentment, that wanting to get even, that frustration, all of it was there. And for valid reasons. You know, I think people are valid in their feelings and their emotions when they go through something as traumatic as this. And I'm not saying that it's right, and I'm definitely not saying act on said feelings, but your feelings are valid. You wanting to go slash somebody's tires because they hurt you is valid. It's not right. And you shouldn't do it. I'm too cute to go to jail, baby. So listen, okay? That I was not doing, but I absolutely wanted to, 1000%. So I think the art of letting go. And I want us to keep in mind that forgiveness is not for the person, it does not excuse the person or their behavior. I really feel led to say this. Whatever happened to you in your life, in your childhood, you forgiving is not for them. It is not for the person that hurt you. It is not for what they did to you. The forgiveness is for you. It frees you and it allows God to do what he's going to do in order to heal you, in order to do what he needs to do in your life. This is about you, and a lot of you are letting forgiveness or unforgiveness hold you back. There is a root of unforgiveness festering because so and so hurt you, so and so did this to you, so and so said that to you. Baby, listen, you got to let it go. You have to let it go so that God can get to you the healing that you need, so he can get to you the things that he wants to give you. But because you want to hold on to this security blanket called unforgiveness, he can't get it to you. He can't get that healing and stuff to you.
And you have to think about it. He forgave you.
100%,
He
baby.
forgave you, and if you wouldn't be here if he didn't forgive you.
Exactly.
So if you think about it that way, it kind of adds up, kind of blows your mind up, and see that bigger picture.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. We have to see the bigger picture in this thing. Like, it's not, we put too much weight on what a person has done to us more than we do the forgiveness that God has in store for us. And I think there's a verse in the Bible that says, if you don't forgive others, I think it was in the Lord's Prayer part, if you are not forgiving others, how do you expect me to forgive you for what you've done? Your sin is no greater or no lesser than what you think that other person has done. So I think we should be mindful of that. Like, our forgiveness, God forgiving us, is predicated on how we forgive other people. So I'm done preaching, babe. What about you? What's your fourth one?
So my fourth one is be humble.
That was your lesson?
That was my lesson.
You learned how to be humble?
I learned how to be humble. From the outside, it looked like I was living this amazing, great life.
Did it?
To some people. It was me letting the world consume me and becoming of the world, not navigating through it. I think at one time I bought a car. I was out places. I was getting houses. I think it was after years after divorce. But yeah, I was getting houses and cars and just new jobs and stuff. It was looked like I was living a pretty decent life. But because I wasn't dealing with what I was going through, all the hurt, the trauma that I've caused and dealt out, God sat me down. God sat me down, and I thank Him for doing that. Um, was it the most ideal situation?
Probably not.
Probably not. However, I did get that time to use that time to draw closer to Him. That's when I started praying more. I was reading my Bible more. I was doing Bible lessons uh, daily, like daily on, like it was my life depended on it. So it was if God sees you going off course, uh, doing things that aren't of His work or His need or His liking, He will sit you down. He will sit you down.
100%. 100%. I always say, if you don't go willingly, he will make you go.
Mm-hmm.
For those that are
Mm-hmm.
called, that are his children. And think of it like a parent. There's all the parents out there. If your child has run out into the middle of the street, you're not going to pacify that child, and you're going to run out there and snatch him or her up and bring them to safety, right? And so God does the same for us. And I don't want to get sat down by God. I will go willingly. Like whatever I need to stop doing.
I'm not letting it happen again.
Because I have seen it take place. And when God sits you down, baby, listen. But at the same time, He can shift and change any situation. The Bible says He works all things out for our good. So it can absolutely be a redemptive story. But yeah,
I definitely think it was the way it happened needed to happen though.
yeah.
Like because if it wasn't that, I guess shock value added to it, I probably wouldn't have paid it any attention.
Shock value is a good one.
Yeah.
For sure, because it was a shock value. For sure. For sure. All right, so my fifth and final lesson, obviously there's more, but my fifth lesson for today is rediscovering my self worth. I think for me, I had to learn or relearn my value and understand that my value was not in being your wife, but who I am as a child of God, as a daughter of the Most High God. And that took a lot for me to do because so often we as women we wear multiple hats. We're mom, we are daughter, we're sister, we're cousin, we're friend, we're wife, we're employee or boss or whatever. We wear all of these different hats. But who are you as a daughter of God? Who are you as a child of God, right? And I during that time, after losing my son, after losing my mother, and then losing my husband, I had no more self worth. Like it was in the crapper, as they say. And I had to learn like who I am. I had to learn to love me again. I could not expect anyone to love me if I was not in love with myself or loving myself, treating myself right, and then expect a man to come and treat me right. There was no way. And so I had to really take time to rediscover myself, rediscover my value and my worth and who I was, who God called me to be, and to become the woman that He called me to be. What do you got, babe?
I think that in general, we have to think about our position in the kingdom first, and then everything else falls in line after that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like with the roles of a husband or a household. The husband hears directly from God, and then the husband, not God, the husband, protects the family, downloads on the family, and and when you think about it in that way, that's how you know who you are, no matter what. That comes first, point blank, period.
100%. I
100%.
agree. So, what's your fifth one?
My fifth and final lesson, among a long list,
Right.
is that prayer works. Prayer saves, prayer heals, prayer does
Delivers.
everything.
Yeah. I know.
I Without prayer, I probably wouldn't even be here. I don't even know what direction my life, what path my life was going on, but I know that myself and others prayed for me while I was doing my own thing out there in them streets. But I know that people prayed for me, and that is the only way I know the only way I know why I'm here in front of you guys is that prayer works. Prayer has a lot of power,
Mhm.
and it's also your words have power. So
Mhm.
you can't talk down on yourself. You can't talk down on your spouse, your situation. Like it's God and prayer are the only things that can help you and lift you and strengthen you. Like I said, that's what got me out of a lot of my experiences while I was divorced, and that probably plays a big vital lesson in my life right now. So
Amen. I agree. The Bible says death and life lie in the power of the tongue. And we do have to be mindful and careful of how we speak over our lives, over our marriages, over our relationships, and over ourselves. You know, you will have what you say. And so I just want to leave you, and then maybe you can follow up with an encouraging word for all of our wonderful couples out there and our single people out there desiring to be married. I will leave you with this word of wisdom is be mindful. Be mindful of who you are right now and ask God, what is it that needs to change in me to prepare my heart to receive my spouse? If you are currently married and you're separated right now, God, what do I need to do? What needs to be fixed and changed within me to receive my spouse back if that is something that you desire? Or what do I need to do, fix, or change to receive the spouse and the mate that you have for me? We believe, we said this in our very first video, and this is one of our mottos for renewed love, that we believe that marriage is a journey and not a destination. Once you arrive and you sign your name on that marriage certificate, that is when real life starts. It doesn't end there. Now you have to go live a married life. And so it's a journey. And it's a beautiful journey. It's a hard journey. It's a strange journey.
for sure.
It's a taxing journey. It's an interesting journey, but it's beautiful. And it is the journey that God has desired for you to go on. So really self reflect. Make sure you are aware of who you are. And I'm speaking to the women from a woman's perspective. Learn who you are because a man does not complete you. You are whole and you are complete. So focus on your healing. Focus on who you are, who God has created you to be, and who you are becoming. Babe, what you got for the men?
So
For the
for the
fellas.
fellas, I think it kind of summarizes everything we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Lean on God, pray, 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 and then embrace, like you said, embrace the journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's an adventure. You know, you guys, you and your spouse, you and your significant other, you signed up for this together. You're not you're not in this by yourself anymore. You're a team.
Mm-hmm. Your
Definitely a
partners.
team. You're
Yeah.
also learn your spouse. You have to learn your spouse at every part of the life. Me and my wife, we've been together for a billion years. She's not the same. She's not the same woman that she was when we met when we were 17. Not in her 30s, not in her 20s. I'm not the same person. We have to learn each other
Mm-hmm.
in that time, and that will make a world of difference in your marriage or relationship.
I agree. I love that, babe. Any other parting wisdoms?
Have fun.
Well, that's all we got for you today. Make sure you check out our very first video, which tells you our story and all the things that we have gone through. You can find that located in the description. And if you're not checking the description, what are you doing? Because there's a bunch of stuff in there, baby. I'll give you free goodies all over the place. So make sure you check out our description. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. And we will see you in the next video.